Welcome to Kieu channel. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to support me in creating more meaningful videos. Today, we continue the story of Sung Luyen, a woman who has lost everything. With nothing left but her own strength and an unbreakable love for her young daughter, she now survives in a fragile leaf hut beside a quiet stream, far from the life she once called home. This shelter is not a house. It is only a temporary refuge built from branches and leaves, barely standing against the cold and the rain. Yet, for Sung Luyen and her child, it is the only place they have. Early in the morning, thick mist covers the land like a heavy veil. The air is cold, damp, and silent. Moisture clings to every surface, the ground, the leaves, the roof of the hut, and settles deep into the bones. Inside the hut, Sung Luyen slowly wakes from a long, freezing night. There is no blanket, no mattress, no pillow. Only a thin piece of cloth rests lightly over her body, offering almost no protection from the cold that crept in while she slept. The chill lingers on her skin, refusing to leave. She sits up carefully, her movements slow and quiet, as if afraid to disturb the fragile peace of the morning. Her breath forms faint clouds in the air. Each inhale feels sharp, each exhale heavy. She turns her gaze toward the fire pit in front of her. The fire that once kept them warm has long since died. All that remains are cold embers buried beneath damp ash, darkened by the dew of the night. For a long moment, Sung Luyen does not move. She simply sits there, staring at the ashes. And then, memories return. Her mind drifts back to the mountains, back to a different time, back to the small leaf house that once stood proudly among the trees. It was not big, it was not strong, but it was theirs. James had built that house with his own hands, piece by piece, for Sung Luyen and their daughter. Every leaf, every wooden pole carried his effort and care. It sheltered them from the wind, from the rain, from the cold nights in the highlands. Life back then was never easy. They were poor. Food was simple. Sometimes all they had was rice with salt. But even so, they had a home to return to, a place where their daughter could sleep safely, a place where Sung Luyen could rest, knowing that walls stood between her family and the harsh world outside. Now, that house exists only in memory. The mountains feel distant. James feels distant. Everything she once relied on has faded into the past. The present is cold and unforgiving. Sung Luyen draws a slow breath and gently pushes herself to her feet. Her legs feel stiff from the night. She steps outside the hut, the damp earth pressing cold against her bare feet. The mist swirls softly around her as she walks toward the stream. The water flows quietly, clear and relentless, never stopping, much like time itself. She kneels at the edge and lowers her hands into the stream. The water is icy. She splashes it on her face, and the shock makes her gasp. Her fingers tremble as the cold cuts through her skin, sharp and piercing, but she does not pull away. She lets the water wash over her face again and again, clearing away sleep, clearing away weakness. This pain, she knows, is temporary. She has learned to endure far worse. When she finishes, she straightens slowly and turns back toward the hut. The day has begun, and survival does not allow hesitation. She kneels beside the fire pit once more. With careful hands, she gathers the remnants of last night's fire. The ash is heavy with moisture. The embers barely glow. She leans forward and blows gently, feeding the fire with her breath. Once, twice, again. The mist makes everything harder. The damp air resists her efforts, stealing warmth before it can grow.
But Sung Luyen is patient. She understands that even the smallest flame can bring life back into the cold. Slowly, a faint red glow appears beneath the ash. She blows again. A tiny spark flickers. Then, at last, the fire responds. A weak flame rises, trembling, unsure, but alive. It is not much. It will not last long without care, but for now, it is enough. Sung Luyen holds her hands close to the fire, palms open, fingers spread. The warmth reaches her skin, slow but comforting. The stiffness in her hands begins to fade. Her fingers are rough and cracked, marked by countless days of labor. They tell a story of struggle, of endurance, of survival earned the hard way. Yet she warms them gently, as if they are something precious. When feeling returns to her hands, she moves on without delay. There is always more to do. Rest is a luxury she can no longer afford. She gathers the clothes she washed earlier. They are still damp from the night air, heavy and cold to the touch. She kneels again by the stream and begins washing them once more. The water is merciless. Each time she dips her hands in, the cold shoots up her arms. She scrubs the thin fabric carefully, methodically, as if following a routine carved deep into her memory. She twists the clothes tightly, wringing out every last drop of water. Her grip is firm, her movements precise. She does not complain, she does not pause. She has learned that silence makes the work easier. One by one, she carries the clothes to nearby branches and hangs them to dry. The leaves above are still wet with dew, bending under the weight of moisture. The sun remains hidden behind the mist, offering no warmth yet. The world around her feels empty. No voices, no laughter, no sound except the quiet flow of the stream and the faint crackle of the fire behind her. This is her morning now, cold, silent, demanding. Yet within each small task there is purpose. Within every movement there is resolve, because Sung Luyen knows that giving up is not an option. She continues because her daughter depends on her. She continues because survival is the only path forward. She continues because even when everything has been taken away, life still demands to be lived. As the mist begins to thin just slightly, Sung Luyen stands and looks around. The day stretches ahead of her, uncertain and unforgiving. She does not know what it will bring. She does not know if food will come. She does not know how long they can endure this life. But for now, the fire is burning, the clothes are drying, and she is still standing. And in this fragile moment, that is enough to keep going.
After finishing her morning tasks, Sung Luyen turns back toward the small shelter and looks at the cooking pot beside the fire. She lifts the lid slowly, as if hoping to find something she might have missed. But the pot is empty, completely empty. There is nothing left to eat. No rice, no leftovers, not even a single grain to quiet the hunger growing inside her. She exhales softly, already knowing what must be done. Today, she has to find something, anything, to survive through the day. Without wasting time, Sung Luyen takes the old bamboo basket and places it on her back. She steps away from the hut and walks toward a nearby banana grove, her pace steady but cautious. The path is uneven, damp from the morning mist. Her feet move carefully over the ground as she scans the area ahead. Her eyes search every banana tree, every cluster of leaves, looking for a sign of ripeness. She moves from one banana tree to another. Some bunches are still green, others have already been taken. Each time she comes up empty, the hunger tightens its grip a little more. But she does not stop. She continues walking, continues searching, refusing to give in to frustration. Because stopping means surrender, and surrender is not an option. Finally, beneath one of the trees, she notices something different. Near the base of the trunk, partially hidden among fallen leaves, lies a small banana bunch. It has been discarded, left behind by someone else. The bananas are ripe. Their skins are yellow, spotted with brown, ready to be eaten. For a brief moment, Sung Luyen stands still. Relief washes over her face, quiet but unmistakable. She quickly steps forward, lifts the small bunch from the ground, and checks it carefully. It is not much, but it is enough. She places the bananas gently into the bamboo basket and secures it on her back. Then she turns and begins the walk home. When Sung Luyen returns to the shelter, she carefully lowers the bamboo basket from her back and places it beside the fire pit. The small bunch of bananas rests quietly inside, modest, simple, yet precious. She kneels down and adjusts the fire once more, rearranging the wood and embers until the flame burns a little stronger. The warmth spreads slowly, pushing back the lingering cold of the morning. She reaches for the old metal pot, pours a small amount of water into it, and sets it over the fire. Every movement is deliberate. Nothing is rushed. She knows that even small mistakes can cost her strength. Sung Luyen takes the banana bunch from the basket and carefully separates a few bananas. She peels them slowly, then cuts them into pieces and places them into the pot. She does not eat them raw. In cold weather like this, she has learned to be cautious. Eating cold food can bring stomach pain, sickness, problems she cannot afford. Boiling the bananas is safer. It gives warmth, not only to the food, but to her body as well. She waits quietly as the water begins to heat. The fire crackles softly beneath the pot. Steam slowly rises, curling into the cold air. As the water comes to a boil, Sung Luyen stirs gently, watching the banana pieces soften. The smell is simple, familiar, comforting in its own way. After a while, she lifts the pot from the fire and carefully removes a few pieces of banana. She lets them cool just enough before peeling them fully and taking her first bite. The warmth spreads through her mouth and down into her stomach. It is not a feast, but it eases the hunger. It gives her strength. As she eats, her thoughts drift once again to the past. She remembers the days when they still lived in the mountains. Life was never easy there either. Sometimes all they had was rice dipped in salt. Yet even then, it felt better than now. Because back then, there was a house, a real house. James had built it with his own hands, simple, fragile, but filled with meaning. Within those walls, Sung Luyen had felt safe. Her daughter had slept peacefully, protected from the cold and the rain. Now, that house is gone. James is gone, and everything that once gave her a sense of stability has disappeared. For a brief moment, sadness weighs heavily on her chest, but Sung Luyen does not allow herself to sink into it. She takes another bite of the warm banana and lifts her gaze forward. The present demands her attention. The past cannot feed her child. She reminds herself why she must continue. Her daughter is still young. She is still going to school. She still has dreams that deserve a future. And as long as her daughter needs her, Sung Luyen knows she must endure, no matter how difficult life becomes. She finishes the last piece of banana slowly, savoring the warmth it provides. Then she sets the pot aside and tends to the fire, making sure it does not die out completely. Another small meal has been secured. Another moment of strength has been gained. After finishing her simple breakfast, Sung Luyen slowly lifts her head and looks toward the open sky above the riverbank. The morning has changed.
the sun, Mouse stands higher than before, breaking through the last traces of mist that once clung to the ground. Thin rays of light stretch across the land, touching leaves, stones, and water with a gentle glow. Warmth returns little by little, brushing her face, warming her hands, easing the stiffness in her tired body. The cold that ruled the early morning finally begins to loosen its grip. But Sung Luyen does not allow herself to rest. Rest is a luxury she cannot afford. As the sunlight grows stronger, she turns her attention toward the small stream beside her fragile shelter. This stream is not merely a source of water, it is the center of her daily survival. From here, she washes her clothes. From here, she gathers water to cook, to clean, and to stay alive. Every part of her routine depends on this narrow flow of clear water moving steadily through the land. She decides the area needs to change. The stones along the stream are uneven and slippery, making each step dangerous. One wrong movement could send her falling into the cold water, risking injury or sickness. So she chooses to clear and reshape a small section of the stream, creating a safer place where she can wash and move without fear. Stepping carefully into the shallow water, Sung Luyen bends down and grips the first stone. It is heavy, rough, and cold against her palms. She lifts it with effort, muscles tightening as she carries it to the side and places it carefully on the bank. Then she reaches for another stone, and then another. Some stones are small and light, easily moved. Others are large and stubborn, demanding all her strength. Each one requires balance, patience, and control. Her arms begin to ache, her hands grow sore, but she does not stop. She moves steadily, breathing slowly, letting her body find its rhythm. Gradually, she begins arranging the stones into simple piles, forming a narrow path across the stream. She tests each stone with her foot before trusting it. Stability matters. One careless step could undo everything. In this life, mistakes are costly. As she works, something beneath the clear surface of the water catches her eye. Small fish dart quickly between the rocks, their silver bodies flashing in the sunlight. They are fragile, almost invisible, yet full of movement and awareness. They slip through the current with ease, adapting to every shift in the water. Sung Luyen pauses. She stands still in the stream, watching them quietly. In their movement, she recognizes something familiar. These small creatures survive not through strength, but through awareness. They survive by adapting, by finding shelter, by moving with the flow instead of fighting it. Even the smallest lives need a place to belong. With that thought, her plan changes. Instead of removing all the stones, she begins arranging them into a loose circular shape within a shallow section of the stream. She places each rock carefully, adjusting its position until it holds. Slowly, a small enclosure takes form. The water gathers inside the circle, and the current slows. What was once a rushing flow becomes calm and contained, like a tiny pond hidden within the stream. She searches for a larger stone and slowly rolls it toward the center of the circle. The effort strains her back and shoulders, but she does not stop until it settles firmly in place. This stone becomes a stable surface, useful for washing clothes and anchoring the small pool she has created. Sung Luyen steps back to examine her work. It is simple, it is imperfect, but it holds. She kneels again and gently cups her hands beneath the surface of the water. A few small fish flicker into her palms, alive and trembling. She lifts them carefully and releases them into the pool. The fish scatter briefly, then begin swimming in slow circles, adjusting to their new space. Sung Luyen watches them in silence. She has lost her home. She has lost security. She has lost nearly everything that once defined her life. Yet even now, surrounded by uncertainty and hunger, she chooses not to destroy what little life remains around her. Instead, she protects it. This small act reveals something deeper. Despite hardship, despite fear, despite exhaustion, her compassion remains intact. Survival has not erased her humanity. With the pool complete, Sung Luyen returns to washing her clothes. She kneels beside the stream, using the large stone as a steady surface. The water now flows gently around her hands, no longer rushing away. Her movements become slow and rhythmic. She scrubs each piece of fabric carefully, removing dirt and stains collected over many difficult days. The sun continues to rise higher. Warmth spreads across her back. Light dances across the surface of the water, shimmering softly. For a brief moment, the world feels quiet. There are no voices, no demands, only the sound of flowing water and her steady breathing. When she finishes, Sung Luyen wrings the clothes tightly, forcing out as much water as possible. She lays them across stones and branches where the sunlight can reach them. Then she stands slowly, stretching her tired arms, and looks around. The shelter still stands, fragile but intact. The fire behind her glows faintly. The stream continues its endless flow. Nothing about her life is easy. Nothing is guaranteed. But within this harsh reality, she has created order. She has shaped her surroundings with her own hands. Sung Luyen understands something deeply. Survival is not only about food or shelter, it is also about dignity, about refusing to let hardship erase one's values. She glances once more at the small pool where the fish swim calmly. Life continues, even in its smallest forms. And as long as life continues, so must she. Her journey is not marked by grand victories or dramatic moments. There is no applause, no recognition, only quiet endurance. A woman who refuses to surrender to hunger, to loss, to despair. She remains standing, grounded in the present, moving forward one day at a time. The true value of life is not measured by what we own, but how we protect life, even when we have almost nothing left. If Sung Luyen's story has touched you, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps keep real stories of resilience, compassion, and human dignity alive. Thank you for walking this journey with us.